Welcome to episode 2 of True Crimes and Sins. Today's historic case is the case of the Black Dahlia. When I was in middle school, I was watching television at my dad's house. I don't really know what I was watching, but it had something to do with a famous murder case I'd never heard of before. It was the case of the Black Dahlia. Afterwards, I became a little interested in the case, and I started doing some research myself. Over the years, I've heard a few theories, people speculating what ultimately happened to Elizabeth Short. Let's recap briefly what we were doing with our Sims. Right now, I'm just leveling up Clara's skills. That's what I'm doing throughout this playthrough. I'm trying to get her level up to a 5 before I start focusing on building her bakery or starting a family. I feel like once we start trying to accomplish those goals, that's when this playthrough will really begin. But right now, we're just working on laying the kind of foundation and getting their skills up to par. So, back to the case. Elizabeth Short was born in Boston in 1924. She was the middle child out of 5 daughters. In 1930, her father disappeared. It was believed that her father, Cleo, had committed suicide as a result of the stock market crash. His car had been found abandoned near some water. Elizabeth herself suffered from severe asthma. When she was 15, her doctor suggested that she move to a warmer climate. During the winter time, Elizabeth would be sent to live with relatives in Florida. She would spend the rest of the year in Boston with her mother and her sisters. When she was a sophomore, she dropped out of high school. Shortly afterwards, and 12 years after his disappearance, Cleo would decide to reach out to his former family. He wrote his wife a letter informing her that he wasn't actually dead. He had faked his suicide and was actually living in California. At the age of 18, Elizabeth decided to go live in California with her father. At this point, she hadn't seen her father in 12 years. The two didn't get along well, and Elizabeth decided to move out. But she did remain in California. A few months after leaving her father's house, Elizabeth was arrested for underage drinking. The authorities sent her back to Boston, but somehow she wound up in Florida instead. While in Florida, Elizabeth met many men from the nearby Air Force Base. One of the men she met, Matthew Michael Gordon Jr., ended up being a fairly important figure in her life. When he proposed marriage, she gladly accepted. Unfortunately, Mr. Gordon would die in a plane crash shortly before the end of World War II. When Elizabeth turned 21, she decided to return to California. She settled in the Los Angeles area. She had relocated to be closer to a guy she met while living in Florida. This guy was another member of the Army Air Force. Though she had aspirations of being an actress, she found work as a waitress. There have been many rumors over the years that Elizabeth made side money by keeping company with men. Elizabeth was said to have been a serial dater, with some implications that she was being paid to go out with these men. Despite popular opinion, a lot of people don't believe she was actually sleeping with these men for money. The week before her death was surrounded in mystery. She was last seen at a hotel. She would drop off the face of the earth for an entire week before resurfacing. On January 9th, 1947, 6 short months after she moved to California, a woman and her young daughter were walking through Lamont Park in Los Angeles. It was a yet-to-be-developed suburb in the Los Angeles area. The woman spotted what she thought was a mannequin. When she got closer, she realized it was the body of a woman. The severely mutilated body had been drained of blood, giving it a strangely white pallor. Her mouth had been slashed into something known as the Glasgow smile. The body had been broken apart with such precision that people have long assumed that only a doctor could have hurt her and killed her in this manner. Ordinary people and reporters began to flock around the site of poor Elizabeth's body. As sometimes happens with older cases, the police didn't seem to block off the crime scene the way they would in modern cases. This allowed people to come up to the body and could have possibly destroyed evidence in the process. Despite this compromising of the crime scene, police still found tire tracks and footprints near the body. Meanwhile, reporters were allowed to take pictures of the body. The body was quickly identified thanks to Elizabeth's earlier arrest for underage drinking. Her death quickly became a national headline, with newspapers dubbing her the Black Dahlia. No one knows exactly where this nickname came from, but it is believed to have been inspired by the noir film The Blue Dahlia. The blue is believed to have been changed to black because of Elizabeth's dyed black hair and fondness for wearing black clothing. In a horrific turn of events, a newspaper reporter called her mother Phoebe. He informed Phoebe that Elizabeth had won a beauty contest. He then began quizzing Phoebe, trying to pry information about her daughter. Once he was done milking her for information, he told Phoebe the terrible truth. Instead of winning a beauty contest, her daughter had been killed. The newspapers began to sensationalize Elizabeth's life. One newspaper ended up receiving a letter that was supposedly from the killer. The killer stated that he would, in the future, be sending another letter that would contain things that he had stolen off of Elizabeth in her final moments. Ultimately, the killer would send this letter and these items that had once belonged to Elizabeth. Someone also managed to find a handbag and shoes that had been discarded in the trash. These were identified as having belonged to Elizabeth. The killer seemed to be somewhat aware of police investigation tactics. The body, the shoes, the handbag, and the items that he sent to the newspaper had all been washed in gasoline. This action was likely to destroy any trace of fingerprints. Though the police did manage to recover some fingerprints anyway, the prints were damaged while in transit to the FBI. The now useless prints had probably been one of the best forms of evidence against the killer. The cops would go on to clear a multitude of suspects. Though there were many cops tirelessly working to find the killer, the case eventually became cold. Over the years, a lot of the evidence has gotten misplaced, and no one knows exactly how many suspects the cops questioned and cleared, but some believe it's in the hundreds. And of course, since we're talking about the 1940s, there have been accusations of police misconduct and corruption related to the case. One of the best theories I've ever heard is that Elizabeth was killed either by a doctor or a police officer. The idea is that only a police officer would have the knowledge to properly destroy evidence, or that a doctor would have been the only person with the necessary skills to dissect the body. Perhaps she was killed by someone who was familiar with both professions. Former LAPD homicide detective Steve Hodel has long suspected his father of having committed the crime. Steve's father, George, was a physician. George was wealthy and well-connected. During his lifetime, he was questioned by the police. It's believed that his connections kept him from being arrested. George's own daughter once accused him of having inappropriate relations with her, though he was acquitted of the crime. George was also recorded saying that if he did kill Elizabeth, no one would be able to prove it because his secretary had died, seeming to imply that his secretary might have had some kind of dirt on him concerning the Elizabeth Short case. Elizabeth herself has been accused of rubbing shoulders with the wrong crowd. It's possible that she simply became too involved with dangerous people. There were a lot of people in and out of Elizabeth's life. Any of them could have caused her untimely death. What do you think? Do you believe she was killed by George or someone else? If I can find them, I will link a few good videos about this case down below. Okay, so I accepted this opportunity from Molly French to deliver a serving of any dish to her. I know that I've accepted this opportunity before and not been able to actually deliver the food, and that seems to be happening again with this playthrough, I had actually assumed that it was my old computer that was the issue, that it had some kind of glitch, but now I'm kind of wondering if it's a glitch with the game, because this is a really good computer, and I shouldn't be having this problem. So I don't know. I kept trying to deliver the food. I made 2 different things. You're gonna see me at one point break apart the ratatouille where I just pick up a single serving. I was thinking maybe instead of taking a group serving, it wanted me to take a single serving. So I even tried doing that, and obviously that didn't work. Couldn't figure out what was going on. I even Googled it to see if Google had an answer. Apparently other people have experienced the same problem, and I didn't see any kind of solution to it. If you know what's going on with this, maybe tell me down below. But I don't know. I wasn't able to successfully complete this opportunity. I don't know if time ran out or the game just gave up on me. Who knows? But this opportunity was not successfully completed, and it's not the first time I've had this issue. At this point, I'm just assuming it's a glitch with the game. I'm actually kind of curious to see if there's anyone who's ever managed to successfully complete this particular opportunity. Let me know. I really did try to deliver that food. Did everything I could think of to do, and it just didn't work out. I think for the next episode, one of the things we're going to prioritize is to get Clara and Kyle to talk to each other, because I don't actually think they've spoken to each other since I've started playing this game. That could be bad. We know that could make their relationship go into the negative. We don't want that, so we'll work on that. So here in the last few minutes, I see that I'm gonna have to clean up the refrigerator, and I solved the mysterious case of the missing food. That of course went back to the counter because apparently I didn't do that right. Food, why won't you let me deliver you? Please like, subscribe, and share. If you're interested in supporting the channel, I will link my Patreon as soon as I finish getting it set up. Thank you for watching. Please come back and see our future episodes.